The following program is intended for mature audiences.
The time is now for the hardest hitting, yet completely trivial show on the planet.
You are in rarefied territory.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Broken Helmet.
Let's rock.
And coming to you live on tape on this Sunday, September 26, 2021. It is week 3, game day morning. That's right, we already have cooked through 2 weeks of the NFL season, and we are now in week 3. It does fly by as soon as it starts. And we started off with light week 3 with a shitty game on Thursday night between the Panthers and the Texans. And the Texans stuck around for a little bit, but ultimately they just don't have a whole lot of talent on that squad. So what are you going to do? Carolina opened it up, covered in that one, lost fantasy heartthrob Christian McCaffrey in the process, which screwed up every number 1 pick across the nation, with the exception of the people that didn't pick him. But unfortunate as it might be, you got to move on. And there was actually some significant fantasy losses this week as well, as we approach here game day. Most notable is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is out. No good. He will not be going today. He was listed as questionable and downgraded to out. So no Dalvin Cook for the Vikings. So let's do our recap, getting up into week 1 kickoffs here at 1 o'clock in a couple of hours. The first game is the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Superchargers, formerly the San Diego Superchargers. Anyway, I ramble for no reason. Chiefs are currently favored by 7 points in that one. We've had a little bit of a change as the week has gone on. The ticket's currently at 54%, which is down, and then the money has gone up on the Chiefs at 76%. Over under is 54.5. Sharps are leaning in on the Chargers on this one. As for the injury wrap-ups, it looks as though Frank Clark is not going to go for the Chiefs on the defensive line. Chris Jones looks like he will. Chargers are obviously dealing with Joey Bosa's knee injury, and it sounds Brandon Staley, the head coach, said that it's a sore knee, and they're expecting him to play. I guess they're going to kind of be careful with it or something like that. So you got to go into this one. Look, Chargers had a rough week 2 losing. They squeaked out a week 1 victory versus the Washington football team. Now they got to go on the road versus the Chiefs. They're favored by 7. Seems like the pros are trying to lean toward the there I go again, Los Angeles Chargers in this one. But I don't know. Look, the Chiefs don't cover. They simply don't cover. I forget whatever the records are, 2-11 over their past 13, maybe something to that extent. But again, I'm a sucker for it. I end up going the Chiefs here. To me, the Chargers just have a couple of questions, namely their offense has not looked as good as it did last year, and they're going to have to go in there and keep up with the point production of the Chiefs. The Chiefs fought a really hard game last week and lost versus the Ravens. Don't know if they're going to be trying to rally here at home with that 7 points. I'm going with the Chiefs. My brother also went with the Chiefs in that one. Browns are going to be hosting the Bears. This one is a 7.5 point in favor of the Browns. 7.5 point favorite what, Rich? Maybe you should just say the Browns are favored by 7.5 points. Asshole. Anyway, so the Browns are favored by 7.5 points. The tickets are 61% on the Browns, and the money has come in heavily on the Brownies. That's all the way up to 81%. Sharps are leaning toward the Bears. The over-under in this one is 44.5, so not expecting a ton of points relative to the other games on the slate. I think it might be one of the lowest ones. It looks like right now it is the third or fourth lowest total. So not a lot expected in this one. As for the injury updates, obviously Andy Dalton is out, so this will be the Justin Fields coming out party, at least for in starting capacity. As for the Browns, they're dealing with several injuries. Chris Hubbard, he is going to miss his second week in a row at tackle. Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back, though. So they're going to be getting a loss on one end and an upgrade on the other. And then there are two other linemen for the Browns that are questionable. That's J.C. Treader and Jedrick Willis. They are both questionable with a knee and an ankle, respectively. So the question becomes here, look, Bears are big underdogs. They're underdogs by a full touchdown and the hook. Can Justin Fields come in here and keep that game close? It doesn't look like the tickets nor the money right now feel as that way, especially with the money coming in heavily on the Browns since earlier in the week. So, earlier in the week it was 60% in favor of the money, all the way up to 81 now. I will always question Baker Mayfield because I just don't like what I ever see on a week-to-week basis. And you're going to give me 7.5 points. That's going to be tough if you ask me. But then again, look, they run the ball really well. So the argument for the Browns is that even if Mr. Mayfield does not end up being the star performer of the game, it could be Nick Chubb and it could be Kareem Hunt, and they could just run the ball down the Bears' throat and just pound them into submission. I am going the other way. I think the Browns win this game. I don't think the Bears are going to get the upset. However, I think the 7.5 is a little too much. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Bears, thinking that it's going to be a little bit closer, and I just don't have faith in Mayfield. My brother also went the same way. The next game up is the Cardinals-Jags game. So the Jags here are going to be going back home, trying to eke out a victory or not get destroyed. So here they're going to be taking on the Cards, who squeaked out that victory last week. Cards 2-0 on the year. Right now, tickets heavily in favor of the Cardinals at 84%, and the money also on the Cards at 69%. Sharps are going to lean into the Jags here, although money has come in on the Jags later in the week. So they're up to 31%, and that is a distinct difference from their ticket input, which is only at 16%. So money coming in on the Jags. The over-under 51.5. So, again, this is going to be kind of similar to the Bears game, where the Cardinal team is favored by the 7.5. Everybody is kind of leaning on the Cardinals. Do you think that the Jaguars, which currently are kind of almost representing a dumpster fire, or are they? Well, I guess realistically, and it couldn't be. They're not a dumpster, so they couldn't be in a dumpster fire, but analogous to a dumpster fire, that are the Jags. So will they be able to turn it around and get something going here? It's not looking good to me for the simple fact that Trevor Lawrence has not looked good. His arm is okay, and he gets some good throws, but there's not enough of them, and he does throw some balls that are just completely uncatchable. I think Pro Football Focus was talking about it this week, and if you subscribe to their service, he leads in like uncatchable ball percentage or whatever stat that they've concocted for that. So, and Urban Meyer is thoroughly outgunned here in the pros. So 7.5 is a lot of points for the Cardinals. Cardinals do like to throw it up. I'm going to lean into the Cards on this one, as is my brother. Again, if you're going with the Jags here, you're banking on some kind of performance that you have not seen through 2 weeks and kind of runs contrary to everything else. But again, there's been some money coming in on the Jags. I wonder if that's just the contrarian sharp play. But as for my brother and I, the Eggies are going toward the Cards. The Bills are hosting the Washington football team. Obviously, the Washington football team last week, big Thursday night victory on the road with the last-second field goal. The Bills mopped up on the Dolphins, destroyed them as the Dolphins lost Tua, and without having first-round reps all week, Jacoby Brissett came in, did a fair amount of work and a valiant effort, but it did not work out in his favor. So right now, the tickets are heavily on the Bills at 75%, although the money has kind of flowed toward the Washington football team. If you've been listening to any podcast, this has been kind of a favorite of the Sharps all week, is that the Bills line is too heavy. The football team is the way to go in this one, and as the spread was 8, now it's down all the way to 7. So the football team actually getting 57% of the money pool right now. Over-under is 45.5. My brother likes that the football team in this one, so he was with the Sharps and the push that the 8-7 points was too much for the Bills. I'm going with the Bills only because I watched that game several times now, that being the football team versus the Giants. And the Giants' defense is just really shitty. You can't really say enough bad words about the Giants' defense. I know Patrick Graham was, everybody's heralded hero last year, and their defense did phenomenal. And then all of a sudden, you're watching tape this year, and you're just, well, hold on. I think they figured this out because they're really chewing up your defense a great degree, and a lot of it through the air. So anyway, they end up eking out that win last week. The Bills, they're home here. They got to win by 7. They're fighting Taylor Heineke, who's going to have his first road start here in Buffalo, which is not the place to go. And you're going to give me Jason Allen, the Bills, plus their defense at home, and they've only got to get to 7. I'm going to take that. So while my brother went with the Washington football team, I am on the Bills. As for any kind of injury updates in this one, we will see if there was last-second things. Washington, Matt Ioannidis is going to be out with a knee. As for Buffalo, their secondary could be a little banged up. Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace are both questionable with knee injuries. Don't know if that will play into it, but we will have to find out. It's not moving me. I'm sticking with the Bills. So the Titans are going to be taking on the Colts at Nissan Stadium in Tennessee. Right now, Tennessee favored by 5.5 points. It sounds like Carson Wentz is a go for this game for the Colts, even though he gets hurt all the effing time. And he somehow busted both ankles up in last week's game. He is going to get the start this week. Right now, tickets heavily in favor of the Titans at 81%. The money pool is split between the two teams. Sharps are going to lean into the Colts here, and the over-under is 47.5 points. So, and I think I forgot to mention the Bills-Washington football team. That was 45.5 points in that game. So, even though that's stupid to go back and talk about the over-under for a game that you just stopped talking about, I just did. So, the Titans and the Colts, 47.5. Obviously, Sharps, like I said, on the Colts, money, tickets on the Titans, everything else split. My brother and I both went on the Titans on this game. Basically, look, the Colts have fought valiantly valiantly twice in one podcast, Rich, way to go. Cliche monster. Have fought hard over the past 2 weeks versus the Seahawks in week 1 and then the Rams last week. Now they've got to go on the road and play against the Titans with Wentz, who just spirals down in the sea of injury as the season goes on. And I'm just not quite sure how they're going to be able to keep this game close. Now, I said that the past 2 weeks, and I have been flat out wrong, as they have been able to cover both weeks. And I was especially surprised at the Rams game, but I have not been right this year, so I'm going to try to buck that trend this week, and this game is going to be one of them, as I'm going to go against the Sharps. I am picking the Titans. My brother also picking the Titans. As for any kind of significant injury updates, we have already talked about Wentz being playing, even though he's got the 2 bad ankles. Their offensive tackle, Braden Smith, is going to be out, though. That'll help that Titans defense that struggles on a weekly basis. They're just not very good. But now they'll obviously not be going up against a starting tackle, which is a bonus for them. As for the tight ends, their tight end, Anthony Fursker, who has just not been able to play all year, he is out. Bud Dupree, their big pass rushing specialist that they signed in the offseason, is questionable with a knee injury. So The next game to discuss here will be my New York Football Giants, who are going to be home versus the Atlanta Falcons. Right now, the tickets are on the Falcons and the money is on the Falcons, and that was different than earlier in the week, as 68% of the tickets used to be on the Giants, 72% of the money pool was on the Giants, and now that's completely flip-flopped. Tickets are 56% in the Falcons' favor and 62% in the money. So everybody has come in on the Falcons on this one. Sharps on the Falcons. This is your first trifecta game of the year, of the week. Over under here, 47.5 points. I'm taking the Falcons. I watched the Giants game several times now, and truth be told, that their secondary is just not good. Their defense, just not good. And now they go against the Falcons, who were able to stick in the game with the Bucs last week, and minus 2 horrendous pick 6 throws by Matt Ryan. That game was really close. And the Giants, meanwhile, fought Taylor Heineke on the road and just let Heineke throw all over him. So, look, this could be that snapback game where Daniel Jones is better than I've been giving him credit for. So maybe the offense comes together. However, they're a little banged up. So, injury-wise, Evan Ingram, who's supposed to be coming back, is questionable. And Kenny Golladay, their big offseason wide receiver addition that they spent way too much goddamn money on, he is questionable with a hip injury. So Danny Dimes is great. Sterling Shepard, him and Dimes have been hooking up quite a bit in this season. We'll have to see if he gets additional help here. It looks like maybe not. I don't know. I'm taking the Falcons here. I take them outright to win. Why not take them outright to win if you're going to take 2.5 points? You're banking on a 1 point game here. Sorry, no, I'm taking the Falcons to win. My brother's on the other side. He's going to be taking the Giants. The next game up is another trifecta game. It is the Patriots hosting the Saints up in Foxborough. The Patriots right now 3-point favorites against the Saints, who blew up last week in a bad way, where they just stunk the field up. It was Jameis Winston was the heralded savior after week 1, and then he looked terrible in week 2. Now they've got to take that Saints team, go on the road, head up, face against Belichick in Foxborough, and look, Belichick chews up rookie quarterbacks. He also chews up bad quarterbacks, which probably explains why this is that second trifecta game of the week. The Sharps in on the Pats, 65% of the tickets on the Pats and 80% of the money on the Pats. So, I don't know. It's tough to make any kind of case for the Saints minus Mac Jones being a rookie and ultimately not playing that well. Finally, in a game, he's been more than serviceable in all these games, while probably not stand out. However, I don't know if this is going to be the game. Saints are still battling some injuries, so their center guard, well, it's Eric McCoy, who's their center, he's going to be out again. So Cesar Ruiz, he's going to move over to center for the second week in a row. Patriots offensive lineman Trent Brown and Adrian Phillips are both questionable. Phillips has been out with a non-injury related issue, and Brown obviously dealing with a calf injury that he suffered, first series of the season, that he's still been going back and forth. Other Saints, Marshawn Lattimore, he was a full participant in Friday's practice, so even though he's got that hand injury, he's going to give it a go, and they're going to need everything that they got this week, I think. I'm going on the Pats. My brother also going on the Pats. Mac Jones at home, but this, to me, is more Belichick versus crappy quarterbacks. Ravens are going to be on the road this week after their big mega win versus the Chiefs last week. They're going to be facing off against the lowly Lions, who, look, Dan Campbell, I guess he's having them play really well and strong, and Goff hasn't looked awful, but shit, the fucking Lions are not good. They're not a good football team. They were running the ball pretty well against the Packers, and they fought valiantly. Oh my fucking God. Did I just say that again? I just said fought valiantly for a third time. They fought against in week 1, and they still suffered the L. Now they've got to go up against the Ravens. Baltimore, 7.5 points in favor of the Ravens. The tickets are in on the Ravens at 61%. The money has shifted over to the Lions. So it is now at 60% in favor of the Lions. Earlier in the week, that number was way lower. I mean, when we did this podcast on Wednesday, it was 70% tickets, 81% money in favor of the Ravens. And now the tickets haven't dropped off all that much. They have dropped off 9 percentage points, but the money has shifted over to the Lions. It's not even a question. Over under in this one is 50.5 points. Sharp's also going to come in with the Lions, so the Sharp and the money piling in on Detroit. I'm sorry, I'm taking the Ravens. My brother is taking the Lions. He likes how hard they fight in these games. He likes that Goffel isn't terrible and he throws the ball all over the place, so enough to keep this game close, I guess, or a backdoor cover. I'm the other way. The Ravens are a better team, and they know what they do, and they do it well, which is run the ball. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep doing that, at least during Lamar Jackson's career. I mean, you might be able to run that for a year or two, but ultimately, look, the quarterback just can't take the pounding that he does. In this game, I think it'll be fine and enough to cover that 7.5 points. Baltimore is a good team that's coached well. The Lions are a bad team that is motivated well, but not coached ultimately that great. Whatever. You look at these games, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to say that the Lions are coached well, but they're really motivated to play for Campbell. You got to give them some kind of credit there. As for injuries, Ronnie Staley, the tackle, who came back from injury last year, he is going to be out, as is Derek Wolfe. Derek Wolfe, I don't think has played all season. He's been out 3 weeks in a row. Marquise Brown and Jimmy Smith practiced, so they will be questionable. I guess they might lean toward playing. Marquise Brown looked like he was going to play all year long. Fantasy owners obviously were thrown up because then they're just, he had a decent week last week. Now what am I going to do with him? And you still kind of don't know, at least until game time. As for the Lions, Jamie Collins Sr., he's out because they're dealing with that whole contract. He wants out. They're going to try to trade him. Trey Flowers is questionable, but I'm not sure if he practiced all week. Let me see if I could find out any information. No, I can't. But, Flowers did not practice all week. So the other thing of question in regard to Baltimore is that they, on top of being a little banged up, they had a bunch of people thrown on the COVID list on Friday. And so those players were Justin Houston, the linebacker, nose tackle Brandon Williams, and a defensive tackle Justin Matabuk, along with Jay Ferguson, who plays outside linebacker. But anyway, so a whole bunch of people placed on COVID-19 list. Justin Houston, Brandon Williams, probably the most notable of his two. I don't think it matters here. I'm taking the Ravens and the 7.5. And like I said, my brother is on the other side. Final 1 o'clock game, almost said 4. This is what happens when you race through podcasts, because you got to get your son to a game all the way down in Maywood, New Jersey, when you live in Hohokus, which is like 30 minutes away, to play rec soccer. What the fuck? Why can't we just play like Allendale or Saddle River, or, well, we are Saddle River, but Upper Saddle River, or Waldwick, or one of the teams that are right next door? Why do we have to drive 30 minutes to play rec soccer? I don't know. But anyway, it is screwing up with my mental capacity to fly through these games here. Anyway, the final 1 o'clock game, not 4 o'clock game, final 1 o'clock game, is the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers right now are 2.5 point favorites. They also are the pick of the general pop, as 62% of the tickets are on the Steelers. The money has flown in to Cincinnati's side. It is 72% over there for the Bengals, which is a stark contrast to their ticket total, which is only 38. So money coming in heavily on the Bengals, but the ticket numbers on the Steelers. Over-under in this one is 43 points. So this one is the lowest second lowest over-under next to the Broncos-Jets, what we'll be talking about next on the Sunday slate. So I took the Steelers here. My brother took the Bengals. The argument for the Bengals is obviously Big Ben is not playing well. The Steelers' defense was banged up last week and will be banged up again this week. We'll do the update real quick here. So the Steelers and Browns, it looks like T. Higgins for the Bengals, the wide receiver, he is out, as is their offensive guard, Xavier Su'Filo. And Trey Waynes, they think he's going to actually come back. But obviously Higgins and Suafilo, the starting guard, they have not practiced and they are looking doubtful. Waynes, they might get in there, but I doubt it. They've been trying to get him back, and he's been battling that hamstring, so I imagine they'll probably keep him out another week. As for the Steelers defense, which is where we were going originally, the TJ Watt, their number one defensive player, is out. I think they're going to get some of those guys back from weeks past. Devin Bush was banged up. There was somebody in the secondary that was banged up as well. Deontay Johnson, probably their number one wide receiver right now, is definitely out. So the Steelers do have some injuries. So you're looking at the Bengals and you're saying, hey, look, they're out Higgins, they're out Lyman, who's been banged up anyway. And they're just going to be able to pass the ball, and their defense doesn't, all their offense has to do is score the ball because the Pittsburgh offense stinks. The heralded Matt Canada and his new offense has not looked good. Ben has looked terrible, and Ben's banged up. They didn't even know he was going to play. So, why is the Steelers going to be heavily favorites here? Just give them the home point, 3-point spread. And that wasn't even enough to stick with the general betting population because enough people bet it that it came down from 3 earlier in the week to 2.5. So people are coming in on the Bengals here. The Steelers' argument is, look, it's the Steelers at home. And Ben might be banged up, but Ben plays banged up all the time. I'm kind of tired of hearing Big Ben is banged up. The fucking guy's been hurt his entire life. It's always the same thing with him. So why is it going to change now? So you're going to give me Big Ben plus the Steelers' defense that might be banged up, but they're not going to have Watt, but they have other pieces at home versus Joe Burrow, who looked terrible last week, and their offense didn't look good in week 1 either. I mean, you're talking about an offense that has not looked good through 2 weeks with a second-year quarterback that is coming off of a major knee surgery, plus a rookie wide receiver who's your number 1 this week. This might be the game that you look back and you said, oh, shit, why did we go against the Steelers at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals? So I'm going with the Steelers on that one and the 2.5 points. My brother's going on the Bengals, and that wraps up the 1 o'clock slate of games. As for the 4 o'clock slate of games, this is the lowest over-under of the week. 41.5 for the Broncos hosting the Jets. Broncos are favored in this game by 10.5 points. The tickets are on the Broncos at 58%. Money heavy on the Broncos at 83%. So the Jets are going to get the sharp love, obviously, because that was typical sharp play there. I don't know if they're going to be able to stay in this game. Look, the Broncos are banged up. They're going to be out Bradley Chubb now for, I guess, possibly 6 weeks is what they were talking about. Bowen Spurn, his foot taken out. They did get Von Miller back this year. He's been playing okay. The Jets are they've already out their number 1 draft pick from a year ago, Mekhi Becton. He's out for, I guess, the next 6 weeks, I think is what they said. They are also going to be out Tevin Coleman, running back. He's out with COVID, so they're going to be going to Michael Carter. Jamison Crowder, wide receiver, is doubtful. So it lokes like Corey Davis is going to get another chance to shine here, even though that little kid on TikTok said he's got no hops, which was really funny, although it poked fun at a professional football player by like a 12-year-old. By the way, that video was completely concocted and wrote up by his father. I'm sorry. You can't tell me any other way. I don't think that they had to go through the Game Pass, and unless Game Pass doesn't have the Alt 22 film anymore. That looked like Alt 22 unless it was a replay of the game footage and they were doing it from the Skycam. I don't know. But either way, you're either, if it's the Alt 22 footage, All 22 footage, you have to basically get the feed from overseas, do a VPN in order to mask your IP address in order to play the Game Pass. Before this week, I think it came out Friday, I think they fixed it. But if it wasn't that, then they went through the game footage, the actual TV broadcast, all 3 hours of it, and waited to find that play, pause it, and then had this kid do this whole rundown. I'm sorry. There's a strong part of me that thinks that whole account is just a dad doing it and having his kid voice it because it's funnier that way. But anyway, Jets don't look good. They're underdogs by 10.5 points here. Teddy Bridgewater has looked phenomenal, and I thought that it probably should have went to Drew Lock because he had the higher potential, but I think Bridgewater was way better play, and it has proven itself on the field. So I was wrong about that one. Go to figure, I've been wrong about a lot of things in 2021 season. So shit. That didn't break the curve. So Broncos here, 10.5. I'm taking the Broncos. My brother's taking the Broncos. 10.5. Just not enough. I don't know what the hell the Jets are right now. I mean, they're a team rebuilding. They have pieces. They're doing okay, but they need more. Raiders are going to be hosting the Dolphins. This is a good one because if you are interested in betting, this has got a lot of juice in the sense that the Raiders are currently a 76 ticket percentage favorite and 78% of the money pool favorite. The Dolphins are the sharps pick here. And if you listen to any kind of podcast or any kind of gambling show, the Dolphins have been the pick from basically Sunday of last week. Everybody and their brother has been picking the Dolphins in this game. The argument is Tua has been limited in his offense because he hasn't thrown the ball downfield. He doesn't look good. Now that they're going to get to open it up with Jacoby Brissett, so it might be a addition by subtraction in that regard. And so the Dolphins' defense is good. They're well coached. Brian Flores is the man. And so they're going to go in here versus the Raiders team that has been playing above their potential and is going to wreak havoc on the road. Okay, so I went with the Raiders. My brother went with the Raiders. I'm not going to speak for my brothers, but I am going to speak for myself in saying that we have all seen Jacoby Brissett play. Shit, the guy has had a great fucking career based on what he was, which was a third stringer playing for the Patriots who ended up starting at one point because Brady got injured and then Garoppolo got injured. So then Brissett got up there, and then they didn't have anything to do with him, so then they traded him. He went to India. He played in Indianapolis. Now he's down in Miami. Look, the guy has had plenty of time to show who he is, and who he is a backup quarterback. He's not a starter. He wouldn't have been a starter at this point had he had the caliber. He doesn't. So now you're going to get a backup quarterback coming here for the Dolphins, and you're going to make an argument that they're going to perform better with him than Tua. Well, guess what? Then Tua is worth shit, and you should just get rid of him and end that experiment from here on out. So if Brissett plays well the next couple of games, and then you decide to turn back to Tua, then the Dolphins should be questioned for their sanity. Because if Brissett's going to be good, and Tua has had questions now for all of 2 years, why are you going to throw him back in there? It doesn't make any kind of sense. Stick with Brissett. So either they made the wrong play for weeks 1 and 2 going with Tua, or all of the gamblers here are completely clueless. I don't know which way to make it. I'm taking the Raiders and the 3.5. I just can't see this Brissett argument taking form. But we'll see as the game goes on if, maybe the Raiders are a figment of everybody's imagination and, Derek Carr is playing above his skill set, which, you could probably argue that later anyway. But you're going to be the home team, 3.5 versus a backup quarterback, and that backup quarterback is Jacoby Brissett, who we've seen for years on end. I'm taking the Raiders. So the next game will be the Vikings at home dog, taking on the Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 1 here. The tickets on the Seahawks at 69%. The money pool on the Seahawks at 64%. Over under 55.5. So they're looking to get points in this game compared to some of these other ones. You're looking at some of these, 43, 44.5, 45, 43, 43, and then all of a sudden 55.5. Whoa. This game and the one that we will talk about next are the two highest over-unders on the week. So they're expecting some points here in this one. Dalvin Cook out. So Dalvin Cook will not be playing in this one. Seahawks road favorites. The Vikings playing without Dalvin Cook, but will be the sharps pick here. My brother and I both took the Seahawks. The talk of the week, if it has not been the Dolphins winning or at least covering on the road, it probably has been the Vikings here at home versus the Seahawks. Through everyththe that I've heard this week, there's been a couple of games that people have talked about a lot. And those are the two. If you look at some of these other ones, the football team generated a little bit of talk. The Browns generate a little bit of talk to cover, but I mean, it's been Dolphins, Vikings. Those have been the two dog teams I've heard everybody talk about coming through here and covering or winning. So for the Vikings, look, they are at home. It's a tougher place to play. The Seahawks just lost a brutal game at home versus Tennessee, and a complete implosion in the second half and an offensive change and just a weird game all around. Cook is out. He's going to be replaced by Madison. Obviously, running backs are the replaceable link in the fence. So should it really factor in that much? Yeah, it should. It's Dalvin Cook. It's Dalvin fucking Cook. He's a huge part of that offense. So I think losing him, I picked the Seahawks earlier in the week. I just think they're a more well-rounded team, and I haven't liked what I've seen from the Vikings. I know last week they probably should have won versus the Cardinals, and so, maybe they're a better team, but again, I'm going against the Vikings and Kirk Cousins here because I just like the Steelers more and the Seahawks more, and the Seahawks should have won last week's game, and I wonder if they didn't have that implosion at the end of last week if they wouldn't have been a bigger favorite. So you're giving me 1 point here. I'm taking the Seahawks, as is my brother. Any kind of injury thing here, you're going to have for the Seahawks, not a whole lot. D. Eskridge and Rashard Penny are both out, but that doesn't really matter. As for the Vikings, Dalvin Cook obviously is out. Anthony Barr is out, so they're not going to get him back. And I don't know if the injury report's going to have that big of an impact. So going Seahawks here, as is my brother. So the big game of the day is the Buccaneers on the road versus Los Angeles. The Rams of Los Angeles. Buccaneers, 1 point favorite right now. They are the ticket favorite at 63% and the money favorite at 59%. Over-under is 55.5. The Rams are going to be the sharp play in this game. As for the injuries, we are going to be out Jason Pierre-Paul for this one for the Buccaneers. You are also going to be out Antonio Brown for COVID reasons. And for the Rams, they're going to be out Darrell Henderson, it looks like. I think he's questionable, but they were saying they did not think he was going to play. So Sony Michel was going to get the start in the backfield for the Rams. Game of the day, game of the weekend. Very excited about this one. My brother and I are on separate sides. I took the Bucs. He took the Rams. I am taking the Bucs basically because I can't go against Tom Brady playing as well as he's playing right now. The defense is a question mark because of the secondary. The secondary is crazy banged up. Murphy Bunting, they lost him week 1. He went on IR. He is not coming back. They have been passed all over. So if there's one thing the Rams have definitely been trying to do, it's been spreading the field and throwing the ball downfield with Matt Stafford. And so to that end, the Ram bettors are going to argue, hey, look, yeah, sure. Brady looks good, the offense looks good, but the Rams are going to chew up on this defense, and the Rams defense is really good. Well, yeah, they are. They both do things different. So the Rams don't really defend the run that well, and the Bucs don't defend the pass that well. That would probably lean toward the Rams, obviously, in the scoring era that we're in right now. But I don't know if it's going to work that way. The Bucs minus Pierre-Paul, Murphy Bunting, I mean, they're healthy for the week of work that they just got in during practice. So, I don't know if the Antonio Brown is going to be illness and absentee for week 3 is going to be that big of a factor. He played really big in week 1, didn't play big in week 2. I think they'll be fine in that regard. A Rams home game, it is really a coin flip because you could see Stafford continuing to play well. You could see maybe the Bucs getting jammed up with their secondary. Jalen Ramsey has a big game. But, for my money, I'm not going to go against Tom Brady. Obviously, there's a look-ahead game here because next week is the big Week 4 matchup with the Bucs versus the Patriots, but I don't know if that's really going to come into play here. This is just going to be a great game to watch, really fun. Think it's going to be as close as they build, but I'm going to take the Bucs, and I'm going to take the GOAT, Tom Brady, in this one. And I'll probably do that with any kind of close game. I mean, the Bucs are going to have to be big favorites in order for me to pick against the other team, just because that's when I think the defense will come into play. You're giving me a tight game at 1 point. I'm just taking the GOAT. That's it. Sunday night game here, 49ers hosting the Packers. The 49ers currently are the ticket favorite and the sharp lean, while the money favorite and the sharp lean, 55% of the money in on the 49ers. The tickets are the other side. They're on the Packers. So earlier in the week when there wasn't that much betting on this game, it was everything in favor of the Packers. And now the Packers are only holding on to the ticket total. It was 72 earlier in the week. Now it's down to 55. Of course, those Wednesday numbers for a Sunday night game are a little flimsy because they adjust so much. So really what you're seeing here is all the money and tickets come in on the 49ers at home. Close game, 3 points in favor of the 49ers, over under 50 points. Hey, look, I think that the Packers are what everybody's billing them, which is a very talented team that has a lot of issues inside their house. The 49ers are a team that has a great offensive mind and talent on the roster, but are very banged up and have this spewing quarterback controversy that, much like the Bears, probably will not end until Trey Lance gets his start, much like Justin Fields. I don't know, to me, I think it's going to be difficult to forecast when Garoppolo's play is going to fall off. He's been manageable. And when that happens, how long it's going to take for them to rise back up to the quality of play they've had in the years past with Trey Lance. For this game, it's tough to pick the Packers because, look, there are certain things that they just don't do well. They don't play hard. They don't play good defense. They are Aaron Rodgers and offensive talent all over the place. So you would think that the 49ers at home, 3-point favorite, would be the easy pick. And definitely the money and the tickets have flown that way as the week has gone on here. I'm taking the Packers. I'll probably regret taking this pick. I'm not a fan of taking the Packers in this spot. There's just something about the 49ers right now where they blew that big lead because they lost their whole secondary in week 1. They eked out that victory versus the Eagles last week, where 17-11, I think, was the final. But, I mean, realistically, the Eagles could have won that game. That was a big letdown for Eagles and Eagles bettors last week. And so now they're going to be home, and they're going to play a Packers team who looked good off of week 1 and has a cocky Aaron Rodgers trying to prove everybody wrong. So I'm going to take the Packers. My brother also is taking the Packers because you'd have to ask him. But I would imagine the same thing. Just too shaky in regard to the 49ers to back them up going into week 3 against Aaron Rodgers. And then the final game of the week is Monday Night Football. It's going to be the Cowboys facing off against the Eagles in Texas, where the Cowboys are favored by 3.5 points and currently a ticket favorite of 55 and a money favorite of 51. So this is an even split in the money regard. The sharps are going to lean in on the Eagles. Injury update, basically the Eagles are going to be out their tackle, Jordan Mailata, and the Cowboys, well, they got a bunch of things going on for them, especially since Keanu Neal is not going to be playing in this matchup because he tested positive for COVID-19. So Amari Cooper is going to be playing. The Lyle Collins is still out, and the Lyle Collins saga is going to continue on here, as it looks like he could have gotten 2 games, but they bumped it to 5 because he basically tried to pay off the drug tester, so they wouldn't take the test. I mean, just nightmare. But he didn't play last week. He's not going to be in this game. This game's still a little bit off. We got until tomorrow night on this one. My brother and I both took the Cowboys. The Sharps went the other way. The Sharps took the Eagles, and the over-under in this game is 52 points. For me, the Eagles didn't perform well last week. The Cowboys have the better offense. They have better defensive talent. Eagles have the better of the lines. They do have that one injury on the offensive line. So, I don't know. It's going to be a good NFC East battle, a good way to end the Week 3 slate, and we'll just have to wait. But for my brother and I, we both took the Cowboys in this one. So, that's it. There's your update as of, 11:15. So, it's coming up fast. Kickoff is just about 2 hours away, under 2 hours away. Let's say just about an hour and a half away. So, enjoy the rest of your Sundays, and I will talk to you either later tonight, tomorrow, or if I can't get on either of those, then talk to you obviously for the gambling show lined up for Wednesday. So enjoy, everybody. Peace.